Vegas is known for our giant, splashy shows that seat hundreds, if not thousands, of audience members. But today on CityCast Las Vegas, we're talking with Troy Hurd, founder of Majestic Repertory Theater, because he's discovered the formula for breakout success with smaller, local theater productions. His 90s parody show Screamed has gone viral, was featured in the New York Times, and is touring the country. So what's the secret? It's Thursday, February 12th. I'm Sonja Cho Swanson, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. So, Troy, when did you realize that movies like Scream and The Craft would be great for musical parodies?
Well, coming out of pandemic, one of our first shows was a parody of The Craft. And it had been a show I'd been working on for quite a while, actually a few years before that, simply because I love it. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer through and through, you know, the Kids in Stranger Things, that was my autobiography. You know, I grew up on these movies.
Aliens included? Really?
Absolutely, yeah. That's what growing up in Georgia was like. Except I think I was the alien in Georgia. There was when you reach my age, there's a sense of nostalgia, a sense of longing for what, we always considered to be the innocent times, which, when you look at it through a different lens, is really not that innocent, but still just that sense of escapism. And what was it about those times that made it so special? So I found a music director and arranger named Brandon Scott Grayson, who has a musical theater background. And I said, look, I want to do this thing. I want to do this like rock and roll cabaret parody mashup that is total theater, but not theater at all. You want to come aboard? He said, absolutely. So he took all these Nine Inch Nails songs, Depeche Mode songs, and created this great soundscape with multi-part harmonies that still told the story of The Craft, of the Four Witches back in the 90s high school. But we did it with a lot of love, a lot of homage to the tropes of the era. And that kind of became a breakout hit for Majestic.
Yeah, a huge hit.
It did, and it sustained us for a while. But then, as happens in the arts, you lose funding, there's attrition, yada, yada, yada. Plus, after the pandemic, the pent-up demand for theater sort of went away. We needed another hit. So another member of our company, Ray Winter, said, well, what about Scream? Why don't we do a musical parody of Scream?
Classic horror film from the 90s.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't I saw it in the theater, but growing up in Georgia, we didn't know what cell phones were back then. They weren't as ubiquitous as they are today. And it didn't really appeal to me. I was more of a Texas Chainsaw guy. But when I broke into Scream and saw that it was really an Agatha Christie murder mystery, a whodunit, that's something that's filled with suspense. I'm like, wow, okay. So we did it. And we created a playlist that would have been the playlist any of the characters listened to. And we put on Screamed, as it were, and the second week we went viral. We allowed our audiences to film sections of the
Which
show.
is unique. That's a unique approach to theater, isn't it?
It's populist. I mean, I think, here's the thing about, I hate the word theater. I hate the word art, personally, because to me it comes with a sense of elitism. A sense of I'm better than you because I was not a theater guy growing up. I wanted to do haunted houses and horror movies. To me, theater was a bunch of old white people sitting in this beautiful, lush thing watching, people on stage you could understand Shakespeare or opera. Yeah. It's like that's so stuck up and boring. And that's never been my approach to it. So when we reached the point where, hey, social media is ubiquitous in our lives, let people film it. I mean, there's no union contracts that are standing in the way. Why not? Document it, share it. It's advertising. I mean, it's free marketing.
Oh, wow.
And it clicked in.
That is a brilliant stroke because, in some ways, the fact that you're not a union shop, that you're sort of small and local, ended up working in your favor.
Yep, absolutely did. And it still does. And I think the unions are starting to realize, and Broadway producers are starting to realize, it's not going to stand in the way of someone buying a ticket. I mean, people are these unions and these producers are so afraid that if they leak scenes online, people are not going to want to go see it live. Like Hamilton, was so secretive for so long, but then during the pandemic, they released the Pro Shot on Disney Plus.
And I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. And it has not put a dent in their box office whatsoever. If anything, it's increased it. You increase exposure to it. You increase appreciation and desire for it. I mean, that's what got me into a theater. Was I was told about Sweeney Todd. The show Sweeney Todd sounded boring, but when they pitched me on it being a slasher film on stage, I found the VHS cassette at the library. It was Angela Lansbury, George Hearn. For any theater nerd, it's a classic recording. And I saw it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I saw it live, and just the power of that live experience, being in the room with this audience, being in the room with the performers and the orchestra, just created this energy that could not be replicated. So if anything, that VHS cassette, that recording of that show, encouraged me to go see it.
It was your entry.
It was the gateway drug.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. The cheap dank weed you buy from the senior high school. So with Screamed, it went. I remember it was September 13th, 2023, that there was a video on TikTok. We came in to call for the show that night. It was at 250,000 views. And by the end of the show, it was at 900,000 views. And we said, this was spiraling.
During the show?
During a performance. Well, it was one that was shot prior. But it was during a show, it hit 1 million. We went next door to Davies. I said, we're going to do a toast when it hits 1 million, because it's going to hit 1 million before midnight. Ray's husband actually called us. He said, you guys need to get on Twitter, which was still Twitter back then, because someone copied that video, put it on their own account, and it was spiraling up as well. So before midnight, we had 2 different platforms, the same video, 2 different accounts that hit 1 million at the same time.
Oh,
and that's
my goodness.
when it went through the roof. People flew in from around the world to see this show.
That is
because
mind-blowing.
They saw it on TikTok. I mean, this never happens.
It's for local theater. It's an astounding feat, to be able to break through the noise internationally. And I wonder too, because I'm a millennial. Millennials also love our nostalgia. We love our 90s nostalgia. Yep. We're super, super into it. And I wonder if there's something about this moment in this time that we are looking back, at our childhoods. Is there something about 2023 or, 24, 25, 26 where nostalgia is that much more appealing?
Oh my God. I think it's anything from 2020 to this moment, right this minute, that we're all looking for a more innocent time. It's kind of hard to be freaking go here. It's kind of hard to be living in this day and age where we don't know what's going on with our country. We don't know what's going on with our world. We don't know what leaders. We don't know here's the thing I talk about. It is the weirdest thing promoting a show when you open up the newspaper or you go to your home screen or whatever it is. God, I'm dating myself. Or you open up, Instagram, and it's this ICE raid, that ICE raid, this scandal. This is what's coming out in the Epstein files. This person's indicted. We are living in absolutely unprecedented times for anyone who's alive. Not unprecedented totally, because you turn back the clock to Watergate. You turn back the clock to World War II. We have seen this throughout history. It is cyclical. But those of us who are living through this, trying to find a way to survive, we have to take care as much as we can. If we're privileged, we have to be able to take care of ourselves as well. We have to take care of our mental health. We have to take care of our social circles and find the sanity within the insanity so we can become stronger to face what the next challenge is going to be. So that is why, nostalgia comes in.
I also want to kind of push back on this idea of nostalgia, though, because I think there's a critique out there that by leaning hard into nostalgia, you're kind of repurposing some of the old familiar stuff. I think there's a music critic named Simon Reynolds who says that when we're obsessed with remixing the past, we just get kind of stuck in this loop of remixing and recreating old stuff and old stuff and old stuff and, never really kind of creating anything new. How do you resonate with that? Does that not really hit home for you?
I disagree. Okay. I disagree with that. There's within the theater circle, there's a group of people who are like, why are we adapting this music, this Hollywood movie to become a Broadway show? Why is Moulin Rouge and why is Legally Blonde? Why are we taking these movies and making them into shows? History and culture has always been recycled. Culture has always been remixed. There are no original stories. We're telling the same basic stories. It's apocryphal whether there's 7, where there's 10, but there's 7 or 10 basic plot lines that get told again and again and again in different ways, though.
Since the Greeks, you're saying? Like basically the human existence.
Yeah, we're predating Greeks. We're going back to the dawn of civilization. We're going down to the dawn of humanity. Gathering around the campfire, reiterating the fight against the saber-toothed tiger we survived today so we could, feed our tribe. We just... But it's what we do.
Which of the archetypes is screamed? Which of those, 7 or 10 archetypes is screamed then?
Oh, screamed is the whodunit. Screamed is the mystery. Screamed is it's good versus evil. And isn't that everything? Good versus evil. Who's good? Who's evil? I mean, that's always subjective. That's definitely screamed. But it's also, that's a very high level discussion, which is very worth having. But just the idea to escape into a bit of nostalgia for a moment, to recharge the battery, I think that's very important, especially as we reach dark, dark days.
Sure.
The birth of the American musical and the birth of the American musical movie back in the 1920s came out of, in the 1930s came out of the Depression. Like, we're in terrible strife, or we have no money, we're standing in bread lines. But God, if we could scrape a dime, let's go find a little bit of joy, because why is life worth living? If you're living in this deep, deep, dark, existential moment, nihilistic moment, why do we wake up in the morning? You've got to find the joy. You've got to find the thing worth living for. Mm-hmm. Boy, this is probably not the direction we were going to go in.
No, it actually is, because I think that it really speaks to what people are thinking and feeling right now. And I think it's sort of an understanding of like what the appeal of a show like Screamed or The Craft is, understanding like
or
how it can
Showgirls.
actually have or Showgirls, exactly, your other parody, and how it can have this appeal that goes beyond Las Vegas. And speaking of that, I mean, 2026 is a big year for you for Majestic Rep, with 2 of your shows extending to LA. Was that always the goal, to expand your shows outside of Las Vegas?
100%. Absolutely.
Okay,
Even
nice.
before Screamed, it's always been my goal as a creator. Here's the thing. We're a local theater. We're not a community theater. Community theater, you conjures up mom and dad or that school teacher going and doing the Neil Simon play just as a sense of escape. We do create professional theater. It is on a small scale, but the mission of Majestic Repertory is to, and this is highfalutin, is to find in Las Vegas the voices that will change American theater. What it is to create the new works that can become the next thing, the next stories that get told around the world, that get, become part of the repertoire, so be it, whatever it will be.
So you're like a lab, basically.
100%, which is why we lean into immersive. A lot of our corporate work comes out of immersive. We worked with, the John Wick experience with Usher. We collaborated with Usher and his team, creating the experience when he had his residency at Caesar's Palace. It's about creating the next, not necessarily big thing. We can all hope it's the big thing, but the next thing. So going to LA, we opened Empanada Loca this past weekend in North Hollywood. The Crafted will be going over for a 2-night pop-up at the end of this month. And that's sort of a proof of concept. Let's learn this new market. Let's see how we, as a Las Vegas producer, can learn the Los Angeles market so we can export. This city's all about bringing the best in. We have the best here. We have professional entertainers. We have professional writers. We have professional directors, because it is Las Vegas. It's the center of entertainment. Why can we not be exporting out? In fact, one of the shows we workshopped a few years back, it was Bigfoot the Musical. It was written by Amber Ruffin. And Bigfoot is about to have an off-Broadway opening here in a few weeks. So it's going to be, it's taking its commercial step. And it premiered here in Las Vegas at Majestic.
So it sounds like to me, you're telling me that like Las Vegas is actually the perfect test ground for experimental or niche theater.
Yeah, 100%. Because I don't want to say the bar is low, because the bar is not low. We're not the epicenter.
It's low cost, maybe?
It's definitely low cost.
Yeah.
And you don't have the New York Times, although we've been fortunate enough to get some exposure from them. We don't, you don't have the circle of critics condemning things before it has a chance to walk. And that's, one of the downsides of social media is everyone's a critic now. So you can open a show as a workshop and immediately it's judged whether it's worthy or not without having a chance to find its legs. But that doesn't happen in Vegas.
I do want to ask you, just because you've had such incredible breakout success in Las Vegas, do you ever worry that Majestic is soaking up all of the limelight right now? Or is there more of like a rising tide effect?
It's hard to say. I feel, I'm not going to say I feel too guilty. We're fortunate to have had a lot of exposure. We're grateful for, people like you and Rob and, the Las Vegas Weekly and all that.
And the New York Times. I mean, got some big names out there.
I don't seek it, if I can put it that way. I don't go begging for it, asking for it. The best we can do is put the work out there and see what we can do. I mean, I've been producing here in Las Vegas since 2010, since I moved out here. It's just longevity and consistency. And that's what I tell anyone who comes to town who wants to try to take a chance at it is you've got to be consistent and you've got to just prove yourself. Vegas is hard. I mean, I think if you can make it in the city, you can make it almost anywhere. They say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Las Vegas isn't like any other city. And I talk to producers all the time who want to bring the next best thing here. I say, you can't say that. For one, the market changes constantly. And yes, Majestic is a very local theater, but we do draw from the Strip. We do draw from tourists as well. And that market changes every single week. And what works here may not work anywhere else. It's such an interesting city that no one can quite define. And if you're willing to be flexible enough to work within its confines, work within that, then you do stand a chance.
So I feel like there's almost like a little bit of like a paradox here, which is that like Vegas is actually a really tough market. And at the same time, it also is like a really perfect test market for a lot of experimental kind of niche shows. How do you kind of like, I don't know, reconcile those two truths? The fact that it is actually really tough, but there are certain ways that make it a great place to experiment and try something new.
Well, I think it helps if you come in with the idea that you can be flexible, that you are experimenting, that you do come in, saying this is not the one way it's going to work. You can try it, and if you see that it's not working, you need to be able to pivot quickly. I mean, that's, think about the pandemic when live entertainment was completely shut down. Majestic never closed. We kept producing. We moved online to begin with, but then we started doing these car
parking lot shows.
Yeah.
Yes,
just how do you pivot? If you really need to produce something and create something, how can you innovate? How can you do it differently than anybody else? On the one hand, yes, things work. People do the same thing over and over again because it does work. It's been proven. But if you don't take a risk, how are you going to evolve?
So Las Vegas is known for these big spectacle shows. Obviously, we've got the big splashy cirque and, musicals and just lights and pyrotechnics and all those things, right? Do you think we're actually having a moment right now, both locally and nationally, where smaller local theaters can actually break through the noise?
Oh, can I be really dirty for a second? Can I be really
Do
blunt?
it. Yes.
Okay. I just got back from breakfast with a friend of mine who saw one of the OG French Canadian shows here. And when he was there that night, he said the capacity was 7%.
No.
The capacity, and this was a week or two ago. And I've heard that some of these shows are running at, God forbid, I will probably never work for them ever again. But they're running at really low capacity right now. Because we're not seeing the visitors, we're not seeing the travelers come to town. And honestly, who can afford those ticket prices?
Yeah, they're insane.
Now, if you want to talk about a paradox, there's no way. Unless it's a major, major event. unless it's a BTS, unless it's the MSG Wizard of Oz, unless it's something you're not going to see anywhere else, something that has a very recognizable IP, something that, is a once in a lifetime thing. These shows just aren't operating. So yes, there is room for smaller companies to come in.
Because you're more affordable. Is that the idea?
Absolutely. It is more affordable. And do you have the splash? Do we have a gigantic rotating stage? Absolutely not. In fact, my entire building can fit on that rotating stage at CAW, which is not the show I was referring to earlier, but It can fit on that rotating stage at CAW. But here's the thing. Some of the best, because I've seen theater all around the world, and some of the best live entertainment, some of the best theater I've seen happens in the back of a bar, in the back of a storefront, in a tiny, tiny room with 15 seats, no set and a performer. Because the one thing that draws us to this stuff is not just the spectacle. The one takeaway is, did I honestly feel something? Was I moved? And you can have those real human moments with a single performer telling a true, honest story to us, this audience who's sharing the space. It's the true equalizer. And when you feel that, when you've been fortunate enough to experience a show like that, you'll never forget it because you're moved. It's not just I'm watching this, I'm streaming the show on Netflix and chatting with a friend and LOL. I mean, do you really laugh when you LOL? But to be in a room and you feel a laugh rise from your gut and come out of your throat and out of your mouth with, these other laughs coming in, it's a tangible energy that lacks. And it really helps you experience the commonality we have as humans.
Well, Troy, we have to end on that note. That is just so beautiful. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation.
Awesome. Thanks. I really appreciate it. It's good talking with you.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. Don't forget you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Take care.